Do you want to read the hearing notice and stuff? Amelia?
Yeah. Please take notice that an application has been made by Dan and Marissa Solom at 470 Bush Valley Road in the Crescent for conditional use permit to build a dwelling on less than 40 acres in an egg district in the Crescent Township on the following premises. Section 13 of Township 104, Range 5 in Houston County. Said applicant standing and making application is as fee owner of said described lands. A hearing on this application will be held at the Houston County Commissioners Room in Caledonia at 5 p.m. on Thursday, November 4th. All persons having an interest in the matter will be given the opportunity to submit comments relative to the granting or denying of said application. Comments should be mailed to the Environmental Services Department or emailed to myself and must be received by Tuesday, October 26th of 2021. Comments in regard to the petition received by this date will be part of the public record and will be made available for review by the Planning Commission prior to the meeting. This was advertised on October 20th.
You want to just go over the highlights of the thing a little bit, Amelia?
Yeah, so this one is a conditional use for a dwelling on under 40 acres. But it's a little bit unique in that Dan had come in a couple years ago to try to do an addition on the structure that's out there, which was permitted originally by the Crescent Township as a shed. And we don't really have any record. They did put a septic system in, but we don't have a record that they either change the use of that shed from a zoning perspective anyway, or well, it looks like they actually intended to put up a house at one point in time. But that never took place and they never got a CUP. So this is partially correcting something that's been there for about 20 years, I think. But then their intent is actually to put up a standalone dwelling now. And so they would like to, they're pursuing this so then they can get permits for that. And then my thought is that we will put a condition that that building that they're living in now cannot be a dwelling. Then you'd have to in the quarter. So we'd, either that if they don't go through with the dwelling, that would need to be changed, at least change the use of that into a dwelling, or would need to go back to it's actually permitted use as a garage or storage shed. So aside from that, it's a pretty straightforward, I guess, house on under 40 acres. They're on the side hill. There is a small area up on top where they're kind of proposing to build. That's prime egg soils, but it hasn't been in production since the parcel was created. It was at the orchard at one time. And so it's been well over 10 years since it's been out of production. So it'd be exempt then from the prime egg soils rule.
So you mentioned septic system. Is there living quarters in that whole shed now?
There is, yeah. And they do have a full septic system. It didn't pass the inspection so that they could reuse it. But he'll be working on getting a new design and everything in for their new dwelling then. Looking at constructing next year, I believe.
You won't be opening a new house up to the old septic, correct? You'll be building new septic.
Correct. Yeah, I'm working with
The applicant just want to come forward and just kind of explain what you're up to?
Yeah, we just want to build a house, just one home style, two bed attached garage. And then existing structure, just plan on turning it into shop and storage.
Like you say, it sounds pretty straightforward. I mean, what you're up to, so. I guess anybody have questions of the applicants?
Will you still be able to use the existing septic system? Just like if you could have a shop there, just for that?
Yeah, I guess I imagine that. I mean, the holding tank would be good if you wanted to just even
Yeah,
disconnect the drain
I
field
talked
for
to
that.
Jeff. I said I'd probably keep a bathroom there. Jeff was subject pro. And he said, that's not a problem. Just gotta do, because my tank passed, so we just gotta redo the drain field. And you should be getting it next week or something. He said, get something. Design.
You're gonna update the old system? Is that what you said?
Yeah,
And then us put a new one on the new house.
so it'll be the same.
You'll be hooking the new house up to the revamped.
That's the way that sounds like.
Sound like you use the same tank and put it
Use the
in
same
greenfield.
thing, but we still have that wall, up to-
So it'll be close enough that you can do that.
That's the way he made it sound.
Well,
Off
I'm
the top.
yeah, I'm trying to think how far away is the new house gonna be from the current residence?
From the- See, feet probably.
Yeah, you have to talk to him. Is that the most practical way? To have a 60-foot run to the septic tank versus put in a whole new. That's
You're probably
really,
the expert on that, Howard. Rich.
Well, that's pretty doable.
is it?
60 is not too far.
60 feet,
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. And, yeah, that's fine.
I mean, it might be a little closer, I'm just kind of guessing.
Be a lot easier not to dig it
You're
up.
running from the shed will be running into the same tank as your new house.
Right.
Okay.
Well, the, we had one was installed there, they did put a Y in there.
Yep.
So just be that Y.
It's not that uncommon for, if the tanks aren't that old, that they'll reuse them.
Just have a larger drain field. Gonna have to use a mound, or is that perked, you know?
Assuming no.
Any other questions?
I was looking at page 4 of the board packet. On the top left photo, it shows the proposed placement of the house. Is that gonna be a problem with setback?
It's right at the 50-foot setback.
It is, okay.
Basically, yeah.
Well, if there are no further questions, I guess if you guys just want to go back where you were over there for now and just do a little more discussing here.
We added more layers into the slope. If you look at the one underneath that, so like orange, or rather than, otherwise it was 6 to 18% slope or something, but the orange is actually a little deceiving, or it's hard to tell orange from red, I guess, in our pictures. So I might have to see if we can go back there, but this slope it'll meet slope standards too.
Yeah, that's been leveled off up there, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And there was one comment from the public, I believe, in the packet that just somebody wrote in,
Yep. And they were just in favor of it.
and that was the only comment received, correct?
Yep. I didn't have any. Yeah, they just said that they're in favor of it. They're a neighboring property. And I didn't have any other just phone call questions or anything on this.
And I see nobody's here for the public, so we don't have to ask for any comments, I don't think. So I think we can move to findings of fact, probably, couldn't we? And we're okay with that?
The motion that we take 8, 9,
12 and 13.
12, 14. Those findings out.
A second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
All right, so number 1, that the proposed use conforms to the land use plan. Analysis says that this proposal meets the density limitations required for the Ag Protection District and land use plan, and this is an area of the county where growth is encouraged.
All those in favor of item number 1, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries.
Number 2, that the applicant demonstrates a need for the proposed use. Analysis is that a CUP is required to construct a single-family dwelling in the Ag District, and this will correct a non-compliant dwelling situation left by a previous landowner.
Any further discussion on number 2? All those in favor of number 2, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
3, that the proposed use will not degrade the water quality of the county. Analysis is that a licensed septic professional will be utilized to design and install a new septic system, and the existing system will be abandoned as recommended.
Any further discussion on that one? All those in favor of number 3, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, motion carries.
4, that the proposed use will not adversely increase the quantity of water runoff. Strictly adhering to the approved erosion control plan will ensure runoff is managed adequately, and a new structure will not adversely increase the quantity of water of runoff. Compliance with an approved erosion control plan will be required during and post-construction.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of number 4, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
5, that soil conditions are adequate to accommodate the proposed use. Soil types 580C2 and 580D2 are present in the proposed dwelling location. They are identified as somewhat limited or very limited primarily due to slope. This location requires extensive landscaping and a design that conforms to the natural slope of the land and to accommodate the natural shrinking and swelling of soils.
Any further discussion on number 5? All those in favor of number 5, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
6, that potential pollution hazards have been addressed and that standards have been met. Analysis is that the largest pollution potential with single-family dwellings is the septic system. The septic system will be designed and installed by a licensed septic professional, and erosion potential will be addressed with the erosion control plan.
Any further discussion on number 6? All those in favor of number 6, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
7, that adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, and other necessary facilities have been or are being provided. Analysis that this is an existing site and all utilities are present. Any modifications or new utility requirements are the financial responsibility of the applicant.
Any further discussion on that one? All those in favor of number 7, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That one carries.
8, that
Skip it, I guess.
Yep, 8 and 9 are skipped. So 10, that the conditional use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted. This site has been used as a residential property for almost 20 years, and to our knowledge, there have been no complaints regarding that use.
Any further discussion on number 10? All those in favor of number 10, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
11, that the establishment of the conditional use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding vacant property for predominant uses in the area. Analysis is that this conditional use request brings the site into compliance for use that has been present at this location since 2003. The continuation of a residential property will not influence the surrounding agricultural properties.
Any further discussion on number 11? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
12 is not applicable, so 13, that the density of any proposed residential development is not greater than the density of the surrounding neighborhood or not greater than the density indicated by the applicable zoning district. This request meets the density limitation requirements for the Ag Protection District.
Any further discussion on number 13? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
14, that the intensity of any proposed commercial or industrial development is not greater, 14 is not applicable, so 15, that the site-specific conditions and such other conditions are established as required for the protection of the public's health, safety, morals, and general welfare. Analysis is that the continuation of a non-farm dwelling should not negatively affect the public's health, safety, morals, and general welfare.
Any further discussion on number 15? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
All right, so we have a motion to adopt the findings then as a whole.
I'll make a motion to adopt the findings as presented.
I'll second it.
Can we do,
Simon second?
Two of us did it simultaneously.
we can do a unanimous on that one.
Whatever you want.
Yeah.
All those in favor of adopting the findings as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Findings are accepted. And is there a motion to to approve or permit?
Yeah, so this one I added that third condition. I guess you guys don't have to put it on there if you don't want. The concern was just that, trying to avoid ending up with two dwellings on that quarter section. And so I'm just recommending that either, if the house doesn't happen, that they change the use of that to call that a dwelling, or it be, it no longer be a dwelling then once the new house is up. So
If they decide, for whatever reason, not to build the house, will they have to come back in and get the pole shed re-permitted?
it would just be a building permit. And we'd just be documenting that, I guess, essentially, that it's no longer a shed, but it is now a dwelling. And in those situations, there's no square footage being added, there's not a permit fee even. So it's just making it right on paper.
But I like having that in there, when they
Yeah.
when they make a residence, this has gotta be changed to
Okay.
doghouse.
I'll make a motion to grant that. I'll make a motion to grant it with those 3 conditions.
I'll second it.
Greg is motioning to recommend approval, and Larry? what's that?
Larry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I suppose we should do a roll call on that one.
Yep. So Wayne,
Yeah.
Larry,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Jim,
Yeah,
Bob.
Yep.
Greg. Rich.
Yes,
So like we kind of talked about, this will go to the Board of Commissioners then next Tuesday on the 9th, and I'll let you know how that comes out then. But, be present for that one. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, good luck. We got 2 minutes to the next one. Did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes from last meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
second.
I'll second that.
Been made and seconded. All those in favor of approving last month's minutes as presented, say aye.
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 Any opposed? I guess we approve them.
If you want.
Well, you're here, let them know.
Yeah, you can just have a seat out there for now.
I guess we're ready to move on to the second hearing then. So whenever you're ready, Amelia, if you want to kind of read the notice.
All right, so please take notice that an application has been made by Carl and Elizabeth Olson of Spring Grove, Minnesota, and Wayne and Elsie Olson of County 10, Houston, Minnesota, for a conditional use permit to build a dwelling on less than 40 acres in the Egg District in Sheldon Township. Said applicant standing and making application is with consent of co-applicant. Said co-applicant standing is as fee owner of said described land. A hearing on this application will be held at the Houston County Commissioners Room in Caledonia at 5:20 p.m. on Thursday, November 4th. All persons having interest in the matter will be given the opportunity to submit comments relative to the granting or denying of said application. Comments should be mailed to the Environmental Services Department or emailed to myself and must be received by Tuesday, October 26th of 2021. Comments in regard to the petition received by this date will be part of the public record and will be made available for review by the Planning Commission prior to the meeting. This is advertised on October 20th of 2021.
I'll just give a little rundown there, Amelia, on what's going on.
Yeah, so Carl and Elizabeth are looking to parcel off approximately 7 acres in the southwest northwest quarter of the family farm. And then they're planning to build a dwelling on that. They did get a note from a septic provider. This came after the board packet went out, but he does feel that there's two two type 1 sites in that, within that 7 acres that they're proposing. So they'll meet the requirement that new parcels have 2 type 1 septic system locations. And then I also got a statement from the county engineer in regards to the highway driveway, but I can touch on that when we do comments. Otherwise, again, this is, I believe there's a portion of this that was actually primate soils, but it's been pastured for at least 10 years and much longer than that. They're kind of, there are some kind of steeper slopes in there, but they're going to be proposing to build basically right at the highway setback, which is 100 feet, and then to kind of fit a house in there on the upper level, I guess, of the acreage. But they should meet, there's no floodplain, wetland, or shoreline concerns. The registered feedlot that is within a 1/4 mile, it belongs to his father and the current landowner, and so they'll be exempt from that setback requirement. And so there's really nothing, I guess, concerning with this proposal.
I've got a question. This doesn't have to do with this. Did contours get turned off on our Google or
On Beacon,
yeah, couldn't find contours.
I guess I haven't looked at the public site lately.
I'll give you a call if I can't find it.
Okay.
Sorry, I just
They did rearrange things to try to organize them by like kinds, I guess, and so things are not where
okay. Maybe I
where
just
you're
didn't.
used to looking. I can tell you that much for
Okay,
sure.
I'll look a little closer.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, at this point, we probably ask for the applicants to come on up and just kind of explain what's up, kind of give your rundown.
Sure. Looking to continue family farm. Bring, well, my youngest son really loves farming and he would like to take over eventually. So we're just looking to continue what's been going on for over 100 years.
So, you guys got any questions for?
You can take a seat there.
It's going to be a residential
Yeah.
building with a garage, just a standard 3-bedroom, 2-bath type thing. Right, a well, septic tank, and there's electric.
Yep.
to it. Okay.
It'll have its own well.
Yes.
Must not be on a ridge.
Not completely on the ridge.
Any further questions?
No. That's good.
You mentioned the application for a permit from the county as far as the driveway.
Yep, he will, county highway requires a driveway permit. And so I checked base with the engineer just to see if he had any strong opinions on that. His comment was that the Olsons will need to submit form and receive approval from the highway department for new driveway access to County State Aid Highway 10 prior to constructing the new driveway. I have not visited the site, but looking at aerial photos and Google Earth Street View, it appears that we should be able to find a suitable location of the new driveway. Therefore, I'm okay with the proposed CUP request. So it is very open in that area. And
No
it's
curves
fairly
either.
straight, yeah.
Then have you got this surveyed out yet, or is
Not
that,
yet.
that'll be developed as you go?
Yep.
Mhm.
That's the next step is to survey
How much size is it?
about the house,
No, the acreage.
about 7.
Were you taking that whole corner there?
Yep.
Okay, that's good.
And it's been pasture for quite some time, the way it sounds. Well, if there are no further questions here, but then we'd ask for comments from the public, if anybody has anything to say about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll need,
come on up.
in order to get everything on the mics, we'll need you to come forward then. So you're excused.
Sure.
My name is Brian Jory, and I'm representing our family in the perspective of the R&M Jory Farm LLC. So first off, we have no issue if Carl wants to build a house there. We didn't actually look at the site, that he's gonna do that. We have, through this process, it's come to our attention that there's some property line issues with the parcel that is proposed to be split. And there's a little bit of a question on the western edge of the parcel, kind of where Carl will have it. There's a fence line there now. Beacon shows the property line's probably somewhere else, so we know that has to be addressed. So we'd like to make sure that that's addressed and taken care of. The bigger challenge is on where our parcel meets Wilson's parcel. The beacon is showing that the property line goes through some of Wilson's buildings. And the current, our current concern is that our parcel that's adjacent there is not marketable. It precludes us from being able to sell it when you have buildings, neighbors buildings on our land. So we're requesting that this whole thing gets surveyed, and then any issues in terms of what the survey shows compared to Beacon are addressed. Land use issues are taken care of. Any building issues and required setbacks for buildings are taken care of. So we're unencumbered in terms of future marketing of that parcel. So like I said, that's our only request, is that gets taken care of before all of this proceeds.
It has to be
Make
surveyed
sense?
before you can get the permit, correct?
I'm sorry?
Does it have to be surveyed before the permit's issued?
Yeah, so in situations like this, it's fairly common that we ask for the proposed parcel to be surveyed. Mostly because we need a legal description to write that to, and so that is being proposed as a condition as well for them. I guess I will note, I've talked to these guys, and the corners are off on Beacon, so these lines are substantially off. I've also confirmed that with the surveyor's office. It's also my opinion that we are not, this hearing is all in regards to this new parcel that they plan to create. And so anything with the existing homestead is not the concern of the planning commission at this point in time, or not the concern of this proposal. And so I guess I don't think it is right that we would require a survey on the whole site.
What would you like to see surveyed? I'm looking at two lines here.
Yeah, so can you see, so the blue line here where the
Going through the buildings.
there's buildings, we want that, we'd like to have that survey so we know exactly where the property line is, and then if there's any setback requirements that need to be satisfied, if those are addressed. Otherwise, like I said, our parcel is unmarketable in the current state.
Mhm. Well, and we need to have accurate lines for the would you be open to each of you paying half for the
Oh,
survey?
yeah, I've already offered to pay half of the survey cost for that. yes.
Okay, all right, so you're ahead of us already.
Yeah, we've had some conversations. I think it's more a matter of, I think everyone agrees there's a survey. It's a more a matter of, based on what the survey shows, what's the resolution?
Sure.
These are two separate surveys, right? I mean, one for this particular property versus the one to take care of the bigger problem.
Correct.
But
Yeah,
the-
we'd
but
be
the first-
requiring,
The first survey for Carlsville will also address any concern on the western edge where there's a fence line
Okay.
and difference there as well. So there's
So
kind of two
that part was gonna get taken care of anyway.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah.
Are the buildings that are on your land, are they usable buildings, or what is there?
Well, I know there's a machine shed in the hall.
So is that where the property line always was, you think, or it seems unusual they would have built,
I built them, I didn't realize it was a 50-foot setback.
but you think it's
Yeah.
actually on your property,
Well, according to Beacon, it is.
so that could be wrong.
and the
Could be
lines,
wrong.
yeah, the surveyor said the lines are maybe almost 70 feet off on Beacon. Beacon is always incorrect, it just varies in how much
Right.
it is.
Yeah, really,
So
okay.
Sure.
the
So-
corners are way off in that area.
So what do we do with that as far as our
It's a condition, right?
I don't think
I-
that affects this parcel. That's a separate issue.
well, but he said that other line is probably off too.
Yeah,
Well, if they run a survey on the 7-acre parcel, that would pretty much clarify where
That part, yeah.
the actual lines are for the parcel that we are concerned about.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking, what do we put in our documentation?
I kind of agree with Amelia, though, that these are kind of two separate issues.
Right.
But can you parcel off an existing parcel that has a known or questioned property line?
That's my problem.
Yeah, that's my
Um,
concern too.
But the survey will
Take,
take care of that.
Yeah, they don't get the permit till they get surveyed, so. I
Yeah,
mean,
but it has to be surveyed and resolved.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. It's just surveying it, we all agree on that.
Yep.
After the survey, based on the survey results, we need to, whatever needs to be done to make sure everything's in compliance, and then our adjacent parcel is not, precluded from a future sale.
Okay.
Only-
You guys will get your surveys and then you'll sit down with, those
Iron it
people
out.
and iron it out. 'Cause I mean, like you say, it might be 50 feet, it might be 30, it might be 100.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
don't know until it's surveyed. And then
Right.
once you get it surveyed, you two should be able to come together on a line where the line should be.
Seems like you guys get along.
So that
Right?
helps.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's probably the main thing that we need to know. You can probably figure out, once you decide where it is,
What are you
how
s-
you want to take care of it.
You saying you'd like to have that resolved
I
before
was just
the,
requesting that be, all of this be taken care of before
Okay.
the permit is, approved, like, once that's taken care of, we don't have any issue at all.
well, one concern I have is, I've got some property I'd like to have surveyed for whatever reason, and I've been talking to that guy for months for him to do it. What kind of timeline do you have for building?
That's great.
Okay, so hopefully we'll have, like I said, I've been just, survey I've been talking to, I was since spring, but
Yeah, and that is kind of the basis of bringing this forward is,
sure,
that this is happening now with Carl. It seems like the right time to clean this up,
yeah, I agree.
rather than say, well, we'll deal with it down the road. Let's just.
Well,
take care of
yeah.
it.
have you guys agreed on a surveyor? I mean, that's not,
No, we've had 3 conversations over the last week about this in general and, kind of, well, the line's really here, or isn't it? And I'm just going by beacon right now, and I'm in full agreement that it has to be surveyed to know where it really is. But I anticipate that even like with this 50-foot setback, that could be an issue and all of that business. So something subsequent to the survey will have to be done to get this all buttoned up so everyone is free and clear. Carl's piece will be no issues, Wayne and LC and us, everybody's property won't have any questions about it.
I guess
Yeah.
my question is, you're not gonna share the surveyor, right?
Well, I guess that's, I said I'd split the cost. So if they select a survey, we don't really care who the surveyor
Okay.
is.
So whoever you get out there.
We just want to get, the result and everyone is confirmed and the county is in agreement that, yep, that's where the line is. Beacon might show it here, but it's really here. That's all, we want to make sure that's done. And then if there are, if the line is close to where Beacon is, well, then there's an issue in terms of some of the buildings and the property and land use that has to be ironed out.
Yeah, well, and that's, I think what we're saying is we don't want to wind that up in this process. We want to get this survey for that piece.
Right. So from your perspective then, is like the path forward for us is that outside of this body?
Yes,
Yeah.
well, not,
Yeah, and I guess something to clarify.
probably, yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna clarify too. So if you have the survey done and you determine that the barn is maybe right on the property line, but it is on Olson's, the fact that it doesn't meet a 50-foot setback isn't held against you at all. That would be,
It would be held
Only
against,
for
a
them.
prospective buyer though would have an issue because they'd see that that's out of compliance. So that's our concern, is that would prohibit or preclude us from being able to sell that property unless the county can provide something that says, don't worry about it. I don't know.
It's kind of
yeah,
a-
a number of those
that-
buildings.
It's
do
kind of a
predate
variance
zoning.
issue, isn't it,
I
Larry?
looked a little bit.
But yeah, and the ones that predate zoning are okay, but the ones that don't predate the zoning, and that's 1967 setback, are the ones that are in question.
Well, and I don't think that if your neighbor violates the setback, I don't think that I don't think it's held against you.
It doesn't allow us to sell the property. You can't get a purchase agreement to sell that parcel with that in that situation.
if their buildings are too close?
If their buildings are too
That's
close.
that only plays into the fact if they were to build another building, they would have to,
I've consulted with legal counsel on this, and they're clear that in this situation, our parcel cannot be entered into a purchase agreement with any buildings or setback violations. Cannot enter into a purchase agreement. That's the first thing they look at. So that's why
Really?
we're concerned, yeah, because we wouldn't be able to sell this property as it is. We've gone through this with 3 other neighbors, and we've bought 2 parcels where the river split it. We had another neighbor who bought a piece of land in a corner of the shed, was on our property, and that had to get zoned off, and they bought that so that they could keep that whole and everyone clean. So we've been through this 3 times. So this is just another example of kind of cleaning up the property lines that we're trying to take care of.
But those buildings were probably built before we even had zoning laws.
Yeah, but that doesn't, for his protection, actually not even for your protection,
Everybody's.
for the buyer's protection.
Right.
It has to be cleared up, whether it was
Now
before
or
or
later
after.
or something at some point. And we're just trying to get it now, so if we get to the point where we're selling this, we're not, buyers are like, well, I don't want to mess with that headache.
Yeah. Larry, do you
Once you
know,
get a survey, it should help. You get to know where your lines are.
Exactly, and then it's just a matter of what, and what the guidelines the county has, do those have to be, counted for, does the survey need to go wherever the line is, make sure the buildings are 50 feet, and that's where the new line is, all that kind of stuff, that's what we're trying to sort.
well, I don't know, I'm just confused because I've never heard of if I violate and build too close to the line, that the neighbor has to pay for it. I mean, I've not encountered, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but I've never encountered it where the person that wasn't violating was held.
Negatively impacted.
Yeah. Well, other than, you don't want to go close, but, unless you wanted to build a.
It seems that it's only in the case where we would sell it, then it causes you not to be able to sell that property with that in its current condition, because you'd have, these violations on neighbor's property, buildings on neighbor's property.
You ever heard of that?
Well, he's asking
I'm-
to have
I'm
a
not
clear
familiar,
and
so-
uncontested
Parcel,
parcel.
right, that's all I'm saying.
Whether it doesn't,
You're saying if it came out and the property lines were actually not, the buildings were all on Olson's side, there's no buildings across property lines, that it would still negatively impact your ability to
If
sell.
the 50-foot compliance things is still the question.
Okay.
So that's all we're saying is, wherever the property line is, we just want to make sure that the newly established property line is, fits into that 50-foot compliance, so there's no issues, like you say, it's unencumbered in terms of a parcel, survey, don't sell it for a future buyer.
so do you know that if it is within the 50 feet setback and it is on Olson's property, would a variance clean that up?
Yeah, that would be how, once they figured out an exact property line, that would be how Olson's would clean that up. I guess normally that wouldn't be something we come across until they do like a permitting action of some sort. But people are welcome to do that at any point in time. They know they have a building that doesn't meet standards.
We can do the variance, but they gotta have theirs. Gotta be all surveyed to where it is gonna be.
Yeah.
And then they could come in and get a variance, so they need 10 feet, 15 feet, and that would give them guys a clear title on their land.
Correct.
That'd be done by the Board of Adjustment, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That's in front of the board, right?
Pardon me?
Board of
so
Adjustment.
Yeah.
I just want to get this straight in my own mind. Part of the problem will be cleared up by surveying this parcel.
Carl's,
Right.
yeah, the one of the issues or the questions.
So I'll take care of one part of it, which is what this body is interested in, right? The other parts are separate. Do I have this right?
So if they wanna get this cleared up after they get it surveyed, they'd have to come in to the
Yeah.
Board of Adjustment.
Well, that'd be between those guys. but-
Yeah. So efficiency of movement wise, the the surveyor would survey your 7-acre lot, and then he might as well survey that
That's
property.
what I was proposing, and that's why I suggested we'll pay half to have that done.
Okay.
Once you get that done, then if there is a discrepancy in the number of feet you want in there to clear your thing, you come in and have to get a variance. You know, and we give them for what, about 10, 15, 20 feet.
The Olsons would have to come in and get a variance,
Yeah,
right?
And that would clear his land.
But we can have a condition to make the 7 acres,
Yeah.
which will have to be surveyed, but can the condition include the rest of it?
But I don't think we wanted to.
No, we don't.
That's not
Right,
good.
that's what I want to make sure
We
that.
we set a precedent, if somebody had an issue that they'd come and get it before the board and make sure it was a condition, and then they'd get it. It'd just be a bad
And
thing to
that-
start.
and that may- It's probably fine. My only question is, does the county have any obligation for the 50-foot setback enforcement?
It would
When it's
be-
built, yes.
anything new would have to be,
So nothing,
otherwise,
anything after
we're-
after the 67 50-foot setback rule went into place, that doesn't apply?
That's what you
We
get
deal
the
with-
variance for.
we
That
deal
would
with-
clear you on that.
that on a
Okay.
complaint based or like a permitting basis when, so if they were to come in for a new shed permit, that's usually when we catch those.
Right.
Let's say you get it all surveyed and there's 10 feet between the survey line and the Olson's buildings. You just come in and get a variance for 40 feet. The Olson's building, and then that would clear your land up, correct?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
seems like the simplest.
That's what sounds fun.
Is that right?
I think so.
It should be. It should.
I'm just confused. I've been doing this a few years now, and I've never, ever come across where, I mean, we've never checked to see if the adjacent property had any violations. If they get violations, it's caught when they want to do something.
Right.
Yeah.
But
And we're just trying to get ahead of it instead of trying to sell it and then come and try to do something about it.
I've never heard of that before.
He's just saying a buyer would not want the headache if there was something wrong with the line.
Learn something new every day.
I think we can go through with this and it's.
Yeah,
one of the
yeah, all
recommendations
right.
are-
Well, yeah, thanks for coming in
Yeah.
and, good to get ahead of it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
thanks a lot.
All right, very good.
Any other questions from anybody that applied here or anything?
I have a question regarding his issue. Who would he or I or any of us talk to make sure that that variance will clear that property?
You can't really know until you get the survey.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
But let's say Greg's point, if it's 10 feet, Wilson's get a variance for 40 feet. I just want to make sure that will clear up that property line. Who would we talk to make sure that?
County attorney.
Sam,
Oh, you mean like, I would say the Board of Adjustment makes that decision, so I guess I can't tell you how those 5 will vote. But if they were to approve it, then it would pass.
Then it'd be in the documents
Yeah,
and in
they should get a clear title on their survey once. they-
yes. And it would
but
say that the
could also-
setback is there's a variance in the setback and it was cleared by.
yeah,
Yes,
they
the
were granted
variance.
the reduction, and so now they have a compliant parcel.
Okay, so it applies to the variance
I mean,
approval.
If they get the variance, both parcels will be in compliance then, correct? Yeah.
Well, whatever parcel has the non-compliance would be.
The variance would be their only route. I mean, if you're talking about somebody selling half an acre, I mean, it could go that way too.
Yeah, I guess if people, when we are dealing with situations like that, we always say, well, if you have a neighbor that is willing to sell the land so that you can achieve your setback that way, you can go that route. That's just usually a lot of paperwork, and not probably the quickest method. So that's why people will go the variance route. Sometimes, there are older buildings where they say, well, we'll tear them down, and we're planning to in a couple of years anyway. So we've let people go that route. It's just a matter of maintaining that record so that we keep following up on that. But those, I guess, are usually the options, either, or moving it if it's a small enough building, but either moving, removal, buying property or being granted that variance.
Only because we can't guarantee what Board of Adjustment would do.
And once they
I-
get surveyed, it might not even have to have a
Yeah.
variance. We don't
Yeah,
know.
that's
Right.
more than likely what it's gonna be.
That's true, yeah.
And I guess Larry sits on that board, so maybe you can comment, but this is kind of a very common thing, I guess, if the Board of Adjustment deals with it.
Well, it makes a
Yeah.
big difference that they all get along too.
Yeah, it does.
And
But
use the same surveyor.
I know the Board of Adjustment always struggles a little bit with, this is a foregone conclusion. But what else can you do? I'm not saying they would do it, but probably.
Well, the buildings were built before the zoning laws, so we can't do much but do. the
Yeah.
variance.
Yeah.
That's my thinking on it.
Yeah,
We could talk to Sam and maybe they could get a variance.
I think the biggest thing is to figure out actually where the property line is.
I think
where-
that's too, yeah, let's do that. We'll figure that out and then we can sit here all night and say, well, maybe.
and best thing to do is make sure you get a surveyor that's licensed in Houston County. Because if he's not licensed in Houston County, well, there's a few situations like the hotel in Houston. When they did that, the surveyor came in and I don't think he was licensed in Houston County. And when he surveyed it far enough wrong that when they put the well in, the well ended up on the neighbor's property.
That was a tight spot to begin with.
Yeah,
But sometimes there's room, but sometimes.
yeah. But that same surveyor came out and claimed that he surveyed mine and he did it all wrong too. And so make sure you get somebody that's licensed in Houston County that's credible.
I got a list from the assessor's office today.
Yeah.
All the assessing
Surveyors.
surveyors are supposed to be Houston County surveyors. So can we take any one of these then?
Your choice.
They they said that it was licensed for Houston County, so.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, right?
Sure.
You guys should sit down and hash it out, pick the one you want. Let's move on.
Pick whoever we can get.
Whoever can do it the soonest, so you get the ball rolling. Questions answered? So we can move on. Do you have any more?
No.
Any further discussion or should we go to findings of fact? Ready for findings?
Findings? Number one is that the proposed use conforms to the county land use
You gotta
plan.
take out eight.
Should we take out two?
Oh,
Same ones, actually.
14.
9, 12, and 14, right? I'll make a motion to subtract the findings.
Second,
All those in favor of taking out 8, 9, 12, and 14 for discussion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's what we'll do then.
use conforms to the county land use plan. Analysis is that the comprehensive plan provides the basis for limiting development in the Ag Protection District, and the proposal satisfies the conditions necessary.
Any further discussion on number one? All those in favor of number one signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
Number two, that the applicant demonstrates a need for the proposed use. Analysis is that a CUP is required to construct a single-family dwelling in the Ag District.
Any further discussion on number two? All those in favor of staff analysis on number two, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Number two carries.
Three, that the proposed use will not degrade the water quality of the county. Wastewater is a potential pollutant associated with any dwelling. The applicants will install an on-site sewage treatment system meeting all applicable standards, and no other impacts are anticipated.
Any further discussion on number three? All those that agree with the analysis on number three, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
Four, that the proposed use will not adversely increase the quantity of water runoff. Analysis is that an erosion control plan will be required with the zoning permit application to address construction and post-construction site drainage. The effects of increased runoff due to impervious surfaces such as a roof and driveway are estimated to be negligible.
Any further discussion on that one? All those in favor of number 4, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
5, that the soil conditions are adequate to accommodate the proposed use. Analysis is that the soils are class 3, but it qualifies for an exemption from the prime ag soils requirement since it has historically been pasture, and soil borings will be needed to determine suitability for a septic system.
Any further discussion on 5? All those that agree with the staff analysis number 5, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 5 carries.
6, that potential pollution hazards have been addressed and that standards have been met. Analysis says wastewater and erosion are 2 potential hazards, but both will be mitigated to an acceptable extent.
All those in favor of number 6, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
7, that adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, and other necessary facilities have been or are being provided. Analysis states that a driveway access permit, soil erosion control permit, and septic permit will be required prior to building. Nothing is known at this time that would prevent these permits from being issued.
Any further discussion on number 7?
I do have a question on that. The Olsons, I don't know if you're gonna get a plan developed that shows soil erosion plan along with your building permit and soil borings and septic location. When you do a site plan, you might wanna have whoever's drawing it up take into consideration the soil erosion control.
Any further discussion on that one? All those in favor of number 7, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
8 and 9, we are skipping. So 10, that the conditional use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted. No effect is anticipated. There are other dwellings in this vicinity, and an additional one will not impact the uses of adjacent properties.
Any further discussion on number 10? All those that are in favor of the staff analysis, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
11, that the establishment of the conditional use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding vacant property for predominant uses in the area. Analysis states that granting the permit will close the southwest northwest quarter per the dwelling density policy. All remaining property in that quarter belongs to the applicants. This proposal will enable applicants to continue operating the family farm, which is a common use in the ag district.
Any further discussion on number 11? All those that agree with the staff analysis, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 11 carries.
12 is not applicable, so 13, that the density of any proposed residential development is not greater than the density of the surrounding neighborhood or not greater than the density indicated by applicable zoning district. Analysis states that the application conforms to the 1 dwelling per quarter density limitation standard.
Any further discussion on number 13? All those in favor of the staff analysis, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
14 is not applicable, so 15, that site-specific conditions and such other conditions are established as required for the protection of the public's health, safety, morals, and general welfare. Analysis states that the addition of a house is not anticipated to have any effect on the public's health, safety, morals, and general welfare.
Any further discussion on 15? All those in favor of the analysis, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 15 also is approved.
We'll make a motion to approve the findings.
I'll second it.
And can we do unanimous on that again?
Yep.
So all those in favor of approving the findings and analysis as read, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The findings are accepted. Is there a motion to approve or deny the recommend approving or denying the permit?
We have a reading of the conditions first.
Yeah, so this is, the motion would be to recommend the Houston County Board approve the conditional use application for a single-family dwelling on under 40 acres with the following conditions. 1, that the permittee shall comply with all federal, state, local laws and regulations. 2, that the county may enter onto the premises at reasonable times and in a reasonable manner to ensure the permit holder is in compliance with the conditions and all other applicable statutes, rules, and ordinances. And 3, that a certificate of survey completed by a licensed surveyor is required for the newly created parcel, which shall be substantially similar to the proposed parcel as described in this application.
Everybody like the conditions that are presented? And now we'd ask for a motion with the conditions included.
Can I just ask one question?
Sure.
So on that survey's done, right? And then is it just whatever the survey shows that's going to establish the property?
You guys all agree with the survey? I would say yes.
And it'll only be applicable to this parcel.
Or what if we don't?
Well, then,
That's a civil matter.
That's
I guess
What I
they,
want to understand is where does this body's responsibility start and stop? And then if there's not agreement on the property line where there are land use, building issues, this body has nothing to do with that anymore. That's a civil matter.
yeah,
So then we take that outside, with legal action.
we would take into account whatever the establishes property lines. He would have to meet those standards for that parcel, but any other thing beyond that, you have to deal with independently.
And what role would the county play in terms of with surveying and beacon and all that?
That's probably a better, as far as updating Beacon, or I guess I'm not sure what you're
only
asking.
updating, but right now, like we pay property tax on this parcels as their own point of beacon.
No,
You will have to,
not
That's-
Beacon.
yeah, that's maybe not necessarily correct. I don't, without looking at it closer, I don't know, but I know the surveyor's office was looking into this, so maybe work with them.
So
And
they
then,
know that this is something that has to be squared away. Because, we just paid property tax and they do the legal descriptions and we're paying on individual parcels.
Yeah, you
Multiple parcels. that-
pay by your legal description.
Right.
And
That's
Beacon,
represented on Beacon, but
Beacon comes out and says, actually, you can't rely on that.
Right. But again, if the survey comes out in Beacon or whatever, that's my point. We have to iron out those issues.
and I
No.
don't know that Beacon
This body,
necessarily,
county has to play a role.
Well, Beacon's just kind of there for, how would you say?
a guide.
You cannot use them in court.
it'd be a rough guide.
Yeah, it's kind of a guide, isn't it, Wayne, or how's that
Sure.
go?
My only thing
Just a
is,
guide.
You guys probably are aware, more and more, this is public knowledge, so people can go in there and see that, if they start going in and seeing that lines are up, you guys are gonna get inundated with people like, what's going on?
And just because your lines are off doesn't necessarily mean that you're paying taxes on all the property where the lines are off. Again, we deal with those kind of as they come about, but you're being, from my understanding anyway, you're being taxed based upon what your deed says. And, they kind of map it out generally, but there are errors. They show me how yours in the parcel along the river is incorrectly mapped on Beacon today. But that doesn't, it may, but it doesn't always necessarily mean that the
You're talking
acreage
about
you're
the
paying.
parcel that down
Fine.
below,
Yeah,
on ours,
yeah.
that's not incorrect, we've had that reviewed. with them.
And
That's
so-
correct.
Okay,
That's another matter, there's a separate parcel that's under dispute, that's unrelated to the parcel.
Yeah. But you're saying with this, you would be questioning the surveyor's accuracy.
No, whatever the new surveyor is.
That's it, that's it.
survey, Is that gonna be, are we gonna be able to count that that's representative of what we've been paying for property taxes for the last many decades?
I guess if you're. wouldn't be
You have
satisfied
to
with that
talk to the-
survey, You probably have to get another
Right,
survey.
so this surveyor might say, well, actually it's here. and it's whatever.
I've been in on one other case like this, and they had 3 different surveys, and none of them were the same.
And then to my point, what you just said, if what you said is true, we've been paying property tax on land that has been misrepresented.
but just because it's in Beacon incorrectly doesn't
No,
may not
I'm going on the
necessarily.
legal description on
Yeah.
land.
So if,
We've had that reviewed legally, and what Beacon shows is correct. You're not saying, no, that's not. it, that they pay property tax on that.
we'd have to look at that. I'm not exactly sure what you're saying, and that's not our area of
Yeah,
expertise.
we don't decide any of that.
Somebody, whoever it is at the county, that's what I want to know, who to deal with to resolve.
You have to go to the assessor's office.
Assessor.
Yes, that's what you want to go deal, because they're paying taxes on land that you don't own, you can get them taxes back.
Right.
If you go through the right
Okay.
channels.
Good.
There's, they have protection that way for you.
I think for this body,
Yeah.
we see those property lines, as a permit comes in, and somebody sells off a piece, it's not like we have anything actually to do with them unless somebody comes in with a permit, and somebody says that property line's wrong. Which would then require a survey, which is not, the surveyors do that, not us. So,
Yeah, Beacon's not, I know, they don't use, well, in this case, Beacon doesn't, I think it doesn't somewhat describe land use. But the surveyors, they have their own land use. Something.
Yeah, and Amelia, my only point with what you're saying is, if what you say is true, then every time there's a flood and the river moves, we lose land, because the property line moves every time the river.
Yeah, that's a unique situation.
But that is not legally how it is. We can't just keep losing land every time the river moves.
Yeah.
There's an established line. That's a bit of-
That's a
And
different,
that's a unique
All right.
situation there, and I'm not an expert in that area at all, so.
I-
Be best to be,
That's what our property line is, a creek, center of the creek, and whichever way the creek moves, I mean, both parties are stuck with the results, because that's how it was written up.
One corner you might gain a little, the other corner you might lose.
Yeah, but that's, I guess, what you write, that's what you get if you're gonna go.
That's not the way
well,
we can't have that. That's a separate issue.
yeah, I guess for your question on that, my question to you is, are you challenging the surveyor? You're saying,
The old one?
no, the new one,
No.
that you would maybe not agree.
Based on that survey, if something comes out and it appears that we've been paying property tax or something on something, where there's a discrepancy between surveys.
And you go right up to
Go
the
to the
assessors.
assessors.
Go right to the
That's all-
assessors.
that's what I-
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where do we
yeah.
go with it?
You gotta go to the assessors for that.
All right. Where was this?
I
I'll
think
make a
we're,
motion to grant the permit with those 3 conditions.
I'd second that.
Greg is motioning to recommend approval, and then it was Rich.
Yeah,
we'll do a roll call vote.
Larry Hafner,
Yes.
Ed Hamel,
Yes.
Jim Weezer,
Yes,
Bob Conway,
Yes.
Greg Myrie,
Yes.
Rich Shield,
yes,
Wayne Feldmeyer.
Yes.
Motion, all in favor then?
Motion has,
So they said that they're a recommending body, so it goes to the county board for final approval. We'll take that on Tuesday then. You don't have to be present for that one, but I'll let you know how that goes then.
I hope you guys can kind of get together and work this all out. Sounds like you can. So good luck.
The surveyor don't agree with that, just go to the assessors and have it together.
Have fun building your house.
what the materials you can get is cheap. Good lumber's coming down.
Lumber's coming down a lot. The steel's not. Steel's hanging there.
Should see lumber coming down.
Lumber's coming down.
I think we have anything else.
recommend approval.
Yeah, we should probably recommend adjournment. Anybody want to do that?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Any second to that?
I'll second it.
Now we can do unanimous on it. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Yes, we're gonna.